25. The Inconclusive Feelings. Lavanya's POV. I love scaring you, love. That's what he said. Can you believe that? After a few moments of fierce staring, I finally managed to push him away with all my strength. He only giggled, as though my push was nothing more than a slight nudge. That's so not okay. Do you think it's funny, Mr. Dawson? I glared at him seriously. Yeah, kind of. I mean, you pushing me away and failing every time, and I keep staring at you. That's just so much fun. He smiled, which only made me angrier and hurt because he clearly didn't care about my reputation. He just doesn't understand. I sighed deeply. For the very last time, with all due respect, I'm requesting you to leave me alone, sir. I said, this time with a warning in my voice. And oh no, he declared, pouting and blowing me an exaggerated kiss. I quickly pulled my right arm free from his grasp and slapped his left cheek with sudden force. His eyes widened and a fierce fire of anger flared within them. It was a hard, tight slap, just like the kind a woman might give a man when he misbehaves with her. But this time, I had no fear because he deserved it, and the rebellious feminist inside me had already been awakened. Men can't just take women for granted every time. He needed to learn that I was not the kind of girl who would throw herself into his arms whenever he wanted. Women are human beings too, and they deserve respect. I kept my eyes fixed on him, my gaze burning with anger and defiance. How dare you? He started, his tone threatening, his jaw muscles tightening. But I cut him off. How dare you? He frowned in confusion. How dare you touch me? How dare you hold me like this? How dare you put your dirty American hands on a girl like me? How dare you? I shouted. After a few seconds, he grabbed my long hair with his right hand and yanked it, forcing my face to lift toward his. He leaned in and tried to justify his actions. Can't you just take a joke? Do you really have to turn everything into some big, serious social issue? Can't you just have a little fun? He complained. Fun? Seriously? Fun? I glared at him. Wow, fun. So this is how you have fun? I gestured to our bodies pressed together. By forcefully making a girl fall onto your bed and pinning her with your huge manly arms? This is fun to you, right? I scoffed. Well, let me make myself very clear, Mr. Dawson. This is India, and I am a simple Indian girl from a very humble middle-class family. We may not have much money, but we've earned one thing in life, respect, and we value it above all else. So, you making me lie down with you on your bed and manhandling me like this is no fun to me, sir. It's deeply disrespectful and insulting. You're ruining my reputation and the trust I had in you. I finished ranting, breathing heavily with fury. My eyes dared him to fight back, but he couldn't. Instead, he lowered his gaze and loosened his arms around me slowly. This time I didn't struggle. I simply waited until he completely released me. As soon as he did, I sat upright on the bed for a few moments. Then, without another word, I stood and stormed out of the room, slamming the door behind me. He doesn't even deserve my words.
Jackie's POV. Without saying a word or even glancing at me, she simply stood up from the bed and walked out, slamming the door behind her. I followed her downstairs a minute later, but she wasn't in the living room. I checked the kitchen, but she wasn't there either. She was nowhere to be found. Then my eyes shifted to the glass window in the living room. The glass was slightly translucent, and I could make out a figure standing outside. I hurried out of the duplex and found her standing there in the light rain. She glanced at me briefly before looking away. Her expression was blank, but I could hear her breathing heavily. Of course she's angry. What are you doing out here? It's raining, I asked. No response. Lavanya, come inside. You're getting wet, I ordered. She didn't move. What the? I sighed, frustrated. Apologize, my inner voice commanded, and I let out a huff. Fine, I shouted. I'm sorry, okay? I closed my eyes, a little embarrassed. She didn't respond, so I slowly stepped toward her and stood beside her. Look, I didn't mean to. Please, I'm sorry, I said softly. Her eyes welled up, and she began blinking rapidly. Is she crying now? Hey, I've never apologized to anyone except you, I admitted. She looked up at me, her eyes glossy. Please forgive me and come inside, I said, motioning toward the door. Slowly, she nodded, pulling her gaze away from mine. I exhaled in relief. Thank God. She walked inside and I followed her. You never apologize to anyone. You never give in on any issue. This is the first girl who made you apologize twice. My inner voice kept talking, but I couldn't stop staring at her long hair as I trailed behind her. I don't know what the hell is happening. This isn't like me. This isn't just lust like I feel for other girls. This is a different kind of hunger. A hunger to see her, to feel her, to make her smile, to spend time with her, to hear her words. A hunger that's completely new to me. She turned to look at me. Are you hungry? Huh, yes, no, I mean, how did you know? She reads minds? It's 7:15 a.m. I usually have breakfast at this time, so I thought you, should I make you something? She offered. Oh, now I see the problem. I always misinterpret her. She's talking about breakfast, and I'm thinking about something entirely different, about her. She gave me the right name, American Monster, and yeah, I am a monster, an idiot American monster. I think I'll go to the kitchen and get something to eat, she said and left the living room. Once I regained my senses, I followed her to the kitchen saying, I'll help you. No, it's okay, she replied, taking a bowl from one of the cabinets. Please let me help, I insisted. And by the way, Jamal comes around 8, so I'm not that hungry, but I'd love to taste whatever delicious thing you're making, I added, motioning toward the bowl she was filling with flour and water. She smiled. Then please bring me 2 tomatoes from the fridge, 3 potatoes, and 1 onion from the vegetable basket. I followed her instructions to the letter. I watched her cook, completely captivated by her focus. She added spices to the cooker, and the smell was mouthwatering. Then she began making small chapatis, pressing and rolling them on a round wooden base with a rolling pin. It was clear she had mastered this technique because she was doing it so quickly. Her multitasking amazed me, and I found myself watching her the entire time. Could you please lower the heat on the induction cooker? She asked while chopping the onions, and I happily adjusted the settings for her. She then added the chopped onions to the cooker, followed by the potato pieces and various spices. After pouring some water in, she closed the lid and began deep frying the small chapatis on another cooktop. Suddenly, the cooker made a noise that made me jump in horror. I thought it had exploded. What the hell was that? I asked, not knowing what to do. That's the whistle. It's a pressure cooker, she replied with a chuckle, continuing to fry the chapatis. After 3 more alarming whistles, she removed the cooker from the heat, letting it sit for a few minutes before opening it. She then began serving the food onto 2 plates. The aroma was already so mouth-watering that it made me hungry. Come, she invited with a sweet tone as she took both plates to the dining table. They smell amazing. I'm starving now. And I must say, you really put a lot of effort into your cooking, I complimented as I sat down at one of the chairs. Cooking is my passion, she replied with a smile, sitting in the chair across from me. Yeah, I can see that, I nodded. So, how do I eat this? I asked, eyeing the neatly prepared food on my plate. The same way you ate the paratha that day, she reminded me, and I nodded. So this isn't paratha? I asked, poking one of the small chapatis, which resembled a balloon. No, this is puri, and this, she said, pointing to the bowl of curry, is bhaji. I pressed the puris gently, and the hot air inside escaped with a hiss. Whoa! I flinched, pulling my hand away, as the steamy air almost burned my fingers. Careful, it's still hot. You need to tear it like this first, she advised. I followed her instructions, took a bite, and it was unbelievable. This is unbelievably tasty. You are truly a wonderful cook, Miss Lavanya, I said, genuinely impressed. I thought the spices would burn my mouth, but it's absolutely delicious. Thank you, sir, she blushed, smiling as she began eating. We finished our breakfast, and I realized I'd eaten nearly 8 of those porous. Oh God, I'm going to miss this food when I'm in California, I muttered to myself.
Lavanya's POV. Oh God, I'm going to miss this food in California, he said, and I felt a pang of sympathy. Why do you even feel anything for him, Lavanya? My inner voice questioned my feelings. I know he doesn't deserve any sympathy, but a little bit of humanity won't hurt, right? There are many Indian restaurants in America, I think, I suggested, shrugging casually. Yeah, I've been to a few with some of my Indian college friends, but those weren't nearly as good, he replied, remembering the experience. Yeah, people say a home-cooked meal is always better, especially when it's made by Indian moms. They cook with their hands, feed us with love, and we eat with our right hands, so it tastes so much better, I explained. My mom used to make turkey for Thanksgiving, and I loved her cakes, especially when she baked them for my birthdays and Christmas every year, he said, his eyes distant and his voice tinged with sadness. He must be missing his mom. That's because they don't cook for money. They cook to nourish their loved ones, so they put all their love, care, and effort into it, I said. He continued staring at me with an amused expression. What? I frowned, and he shook his head slowly, still watching me. Nothing, he whispered. For a few more moments, we just stared at each other. No thoughts, no interruptions, no one else, just the two of us. I didn't know what he was searching for in my eyes, and I didn't understand why I was staring back. Everything felt quiet, yet there was something magical going on between us. Ding dong. The doorbell startled us both, and I dropped the glass of water I was holding. We both looked down at it. Thank God it's made of steel. It's Jamal, I think, he said, heading to the door. What was that? I kept staring at him, but why? What is between him and me? I don't get it. He's done so many bad things to you, yet despite all of that, you keep softening towards him. Why are you focusing on his good side? Why? My inner voice demanded answers. I don't know. I stood up from my chair, picked up the glass from the floor, and set it back on the table. Good morning, Didi. I heard Jamal's teenage voice. I turned to see him heading to the kitchen with Mr. Dawson following behind. Good morning, Jamal, I greeted with a smile. Where's the mop, Jamal? Laundry room, kyun Didi? He asked. Nothing, I replied, not wanting to trouble him. He was already working hard enough for his living. He was doing more than enough. He went into the kitchen and I went to get the mop. When I came back holding it, Mr. Dawson commented, Are you going to fly like a witch now? I giggled, shaking my head. I was heading toward the dining table when I saw him already there. Panic surged through me as I ran toward him, warning, Sir, stop, you'll... And then he slipped. The sound of his fall echoed, but nothing else happened. Fall, there was water on the floor. I finished my sentence slowly, standing at the side of his head, looking down at his face. He slowly opened his eyes to look up at me, and we found ourselves staring at each other's upside-down faces. Well, thanks for the warning, Miss Lavanya, he groaned, massaging his backside. I bit my lips, trying to suppress my laughter, and ended up smiling at him instead. He glared at me, but after a few seconds, he started smiling too, closing his eyes. Then he burst out laughing, and I joined him. Hearing our laughter, Jamal came over, asking, What happened, sir? We stopped laughing and found him staring at us in shock, seeing Mr. Dawson on the floor. Oh, nothing, Jamal. I was just exercising. You go do the dishes. We already finished our breakfast, he said casually, still lying on the floor. After a brief, awkward silence, Jamal went into the kitchen, still looking confused. Exercising? I criticized, narrowing my eyes at him. He rolled his eyes and tried to get up from the floor. Leaving the mop, I held his upper arms to help him up. The touch of his bare arms made me shiver, but I hid it. As I held him firmly, I noticed him stiffening slightly, but I ignored that too. Thank you, Miss Lavanya, he said as he stood up from the floor. He straightened himself, but his t-shirt and track pants were wet. After a moment, he turned his head slightly to the right, so now I was looking at the right side of his face while facing his back. I'm okay, love. You can let me go now, he said, and that's when I realized I was still holding his arms tightly. With a sudden jerk, I let go of him, blinking in embarrassment. He turned around to face me and laughed, shaking his head. But this time, I couldn't laugh with him. Instead, I found myself lost in my own thoughts and feelings. I just stood there, watching him laugh as he pointed at the water on the floor. My heart began to beat slower, and I could clearly hear it. His laughter seemed to fade, and the sound of my heartbeat grew louder, like a drum. I continued staring at him in confusion, feeling a weight in my chest. It wasn't pain or pleasure, it was something different. I clutched my chest, trying to calm my heart. What is happening to me? What is this feeling?
Jackie's POV. I laughed while still lying on the floor, remembering how I fell. It felt like watching a fast-forward movie. She had been running towards me to stop the accident, but I fell anyway. When I got up, she helped me by holding my arms from behind. Her touch on my skin was electrifying, but I kept myself under control as I stood. Even after a few minutes, she didn't let go. I enjoyed the sensation more than I wanted to admit, but seeing her face was more important, so with a heavy heart I said, "I'm okay, love. You can let me go now." She quickly released me, and though it gave me a cold, lonely feeling, I laughed again when I saw her face, remembering the way I had fallen and her running toward me, mop in hand. After a moment, I realized I was the only one laughing. She looked very serious, clutching the stole over her chest. "Is she okay? What happened?" I asked, concern filling my voice, but she didn't respond.